Obviously we can't have a conversation, Darth, and now I understand why people told me not to talk to you
Okay,
because
no, no. What you're
if you
doing
want to
is
sway
you're
people into
bickering.
Christianity, right? You have
You're
to have a
bickering,
conversation. You
Amber.
have to
You're
have a
doing. You're
conversation, Darth.
Amber. You're
I'm gonna
doing
go to
what
the other
most
room. Have a
have
wonderful day, guys. Goodbye.
have a nice day. Okay. Welcome to the stage, Amber. What would you like to say?
Oh, hey, good afternoon. Um, oh, first I wanted to talk to Nick because I saw you say in the chat about the Jesse Lee Peterson interview.
Sure.
Ah,
Yeah, no, that's funny. So when I did that interview, I was not yet an atheist, which is crazy. And also, I was one of his very first guests. So I thought I was being punked. I had no idea who he was. I think maybe he may have had one guest before me ever. So I've never experienced anyone like that. I was not prepared and I was not an atheist at the time. So the things that he was saying, I was just kind of dumbfounded when I was doing that interview. So that's why I kind of really didn't go back and forth with him because I assumed someone was going to come out and be like, hey, this is just, you're being punked, basically.
yeah, that
Um,
guy's a troll. I know. I don't take that guy's interviews seriously. It was just funny.
yeah, no, I mean, I look back now and I'm like, oh shit. Like there's so many things I could have said, but yeah, I did not take him seriously at all, but he was actually very serious. So that's pretty crazy. But Darth, how are you?
I am doing fine today. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm just home with my kids. I know that Andrew has been trying to get us to speak. And I will say that John was right. A lot of people, you have a very, you have a reputation, Darth. I don't know why. I've never really been in a room with you. But yeah, people were like, do not talk to Darth. So I don't know. I don't know what that means, but that's what they said.
Well, that's usually the miscreant atheists. Anyway, so why are you an atheist?
I became an atheist probably 2 years ago. Um, I just started coming in these rooms maybe 7, 8 months ago. And I grew up in the Christian church, um, loved Jesus, used to pray all the time. Even sometimes I would listen to gospel music. And yeah, I just had a lot of unanswered questions. And my mom used to have Bible study at the house, and I would just ask questions, and they would just say that I should just have faith, and that just didn't sit well with me. And then I just started reading books. I got into Buddhism. I read *Sapiens*, um, which is about like evolution and stuff. And then it felt like I was understood. So that's how I got into atheism.
Okay, but atheism is the position that there is no God. Why do you hold that?
I just don't believe in uh in an entity that created all. I don't believe that.
I understand that. Is there a rationale behind that? How have
Yeah,
you determined there is no God?
I think for me it just is more logical that there is no God rather than just the Big Bang and evolution.
Um, well, Big Bang cosmology will not get you to atheism, nor will the theory of evolution. The theory of evolution can provide intellectual fulfillment for atheists, as Richard Dawkins says. But believing in evolution and the Big Bang doesn't get you to atheism. One of the greatest Christian apologists in the world is William Lane Craig. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I have not.
Okay, you might want to look him up sometime. He is an advocate of Big Bang cosmology and evolution. So Big Bang cosmology and evolution do not logically per se result that there is no God.
Yes, I understand that.
So, what's the basis that there's no God, that you're in a not God world?
I'm
How have
just
you decided that?
I think that I was just very uncomfortable with the Bible. Um, Jesus being the Son of God, that didn't make sense. Stories in the Bible didn't make sense. Um, an invisible entity that lives somewhere in space created the entire universe didn't sit well with me, because I would feel like if he created something, then who created him or her or it? Um, and again, no one
Well,
can answer that question.
well, of course it can be answered.
Well, it would
Uh,
just be faith based at that point, right? Like,
no.
no one has ever seen God.
Um, are there things that exist that you believe in that you haven't seen?
Like spirits.
No. Do you believe in radio waves?
I mean, yeah, but those are
Have you?
proven. Those are
No,
proven.
no. They are
Yeah, it's like air.
inferred. No, they are inferred. Okay. Much of what we believe in science is inferred. Okay. You cannot see protons. Do you believe that there are electrons?
Yes.
Can you see them?
Not with my eyes, no.
Right. So there's a whole laundry list of things that you and I believe in that we cannot see with our sense perception, that based upon our experiences, right, in terms of empirical endeavors, we infer that there are certain things that are real that in some way react and result in certain things that we experience. So saying that you cannot see God, it doesn't follow from that the ground of all being is not a mind. Okay? So there's only two positions. Either we're going to take the position that the ground of all existence is a mind, or the ground of all existence is not a mind. Do you believe that there's a ground of all existence?
A ground of all existence. I don't
Is
understand.
there a basis? Is there a basis why? Is there a fundamental basis why everything is?
No.
Okay. Do you know what that means then? Then that means there's no rhyme or reason why anything is. Therefore,
Yes.
you have no basis for reason or logic.
Right. I think that we could all be wrong. I mean, we can all be in an alien simulation. We can all be completely wrong, for sure.
Yeah, well, the alien situation really doesn't address the ultimacy of reality. So you've decided that all things that can and do exist with independence from God, but you haven't actually given a logical explanation as to how you determine that. Okay? Do you have a logical explanation how you determine that all things that you're aware of exist with complete independence from God?
No.
Okay. So then there's no basis for your atheism then, is there?
Well, there is, because just like religion, right? So if believing in God and praying makes you more comfortable, let me just say this. I have best friends, been my friends 27 years. We talk every single day. They love Jesus, right? And I understand why people love Jesus and God, because it brings them comfort. For me, it just feels more logical that there's not a sky daddy that's looking over us every single day.
That's just a cliche when you say sky daddy, right? Okay, do you consider yourself a rational being?
I do.
Okay, so in the Christian worldview, we have God who is eternal and ultimate. He is the rational. He then creates a world, and in that world, he endows certain creatures like yourself and myself to be like him, where he endows us with being rational. So the rational God begets the rational you and me. But when you reject that scenario, you are claiming that the not rational begets the rational. Do you see the problem there? how does the not rational beget the rational? You said you have children, right? How many kids do you have?
I have two.
Okay. So did you give birth to humans or puppies?
I gave birth to humans.
Of course you did, because humans beget humans,
Right.
right? How does something beget its opposite? You believe you're rational and that you are the product of ultimately what is the not rational. I'm not saying that whatever you consider
Well,
to be
no, you
fundamental.
can't say it's not rational because I could say the same for you.
Oh, I can give you a rational explanation.
Sure, go ahead.
I can explain to you that all the things that we're acquainted with are either indicative of the eternal or not. That would be a true dichotomy. Okay, everything
That
that
wouldn't
we're
make it
acquainted.
true. It would just make it what you believe.
No, well, let me clarify. All right, everything that you and I are acquainted with, the sun, the moon, the stars, the grass blowing in the wind, whatever, these individual things are either indicative of that which is eternal without beginning or not. Okay, now that's a true statement. Either these things are indicative of the eternal or they are not indicative of the eternal. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's not a third option here. So when we're dealing with facts around us, either the facts in and of themselves have to be eternal, or, excuse me, or they're going to derive from the eternal. If you reject that, then facts don't come from anywhere. There's no rhyme or reason why anything is. So either the tree outside your window is indicative of the eternal, or it is not. If it's not indicative of the eternal, you couldn't even consider the tree to be eternal. Therefore, the tree doesn't mean anything at all, other than the fact that you think it means something. The tree doesn't derive and depend upon anything. So, do you think that trees exist for no reason at all? Or do you believe that trees exist because they are indicative of something else?
Yes, I think trees exist for a reason.
Okay. Now, if trees exist for some reason, as opposed to no reason at all, right? Then either you're going to have to end in a starting point, which is something that is eternal, that is without a beginning, or you're going to have the idea of an infinite regress. Okay. Now, are you familiar with the concept of an infinite regress?
No, I'm not familiar.
Okay, so that there's this never-ending cause and effect going on into the past. Cause and effect, and it keeps on going backwards into the past. Okay? Do you understand that?
Can you say that one more time?
In an infinite regress, you have a never-ending succession of cause and effect from the past. There is no beginning. There's no starting point. That's the concept of an infinite regression. Well, an infinite regress of causal succession is not logically coherent. It's easy to refute. Okay? So, an infinite regress of causal succession that even some atheist scientists want to posit is not philosophically and logically defensible. So, the tree
Wait,
outside your
saying that
window,
there's no beginning?
yeah, if you say that there's no fundamental eternal starting point, then you're going to be left with only two options. Either that things just pop into existence from nothing, for no reason at all, or there's an infinite sequence of cause and effect into the past.
But Darth, do you honestly think that there's not another sun in the universe and there's a planet just as close as we are to our sun where they can have oxygen, trees, other species living there? You don't think that's possible out of trillions of planets in the universe?
No.
Okay, I think that's very much possible.
Okay, let me explain to you why it's not. Do you believe that the planetary conditions, as well as the species on these planets, are they the result of a cosmic accident?
Yes.
Okay. Now, here's the problem. In DNA, in order for DNA to exist, there has to be a mechanism for its arrival. DNA is an extremely long molecular coding sequence. It's much like a computer program. Now, according to evolutionary theorists, is that individual mutations and their like incrementally built the genetic code of DNA, right? Now, this is seemingly plausible if you throw in the idea that we have billions or even trillions of, let's say, star systems. But that amount of systems is not enough to overcome the improbability of mutations to build the genome. Okay,
I
so for
disagree,
example,
though. I
I'm going to
disagree.
explain. I'm going to explain to you why this is one of the greatest molecular biologist in the world is Dr. Eugene Koonin. And he's written a book called The Logic of Chance, where he defends biological evolution by mutation. At the end of the book, he says that the idea that these, and I'm paraphrasing, the idea that mutations alone in a single universe, like ours, could produce it is not plausible. That's why he advocates a multiverse in order to guarantee that one universe out of trillions upon trillions upon trillions of universes would produce that. Okay, but the idea of one universe alone, there's even if you had a trillion squared Earth-like planets over 13.7 billion years, that wouldn't be enough time and trials for mutations to build the genome. It's as improbable as anything could get. Okay,
Yeah, but what if it
but for
happened at the same time, just in a different
okay,
universe?
well, I don't want to get off on the track on a debate on evolution. Right? The point is this:
No, but you're
is that
saying that that's not a logical, rational idea that that
if
could
you
be true.
if you are going to employ probabilistic reasoning, as we all do about many things in our lives, then you're going to have to abandon the theory of evolution. So what people do is they abandon probabilistic reasoning when they adopt evolution. Let me explain to you. DNA has 4 molecular units of information. They have technical names. They can be represented as C, G, A, and T. They are arranged in different sequences to code for proteins and for other regulatory functions. So there's 4 molecular units of information. We have 26 units of information, okay, in our alphabet. In addition, there are other characters as well. And we have to arrange them in different sequences to code for meaningful and functional information. If we have one molecular unit of information in the DNA to be correct in a long sequence, it's a 1 in 20 chance because there's only 20 amino acids, right, to code for proteins. When you have the next amino acid that is to represent part of a chain of a protein, it goes from 1 in 20 to 1 in 400. Okay, 1 in 20 times 1 in 20 is 1 in 400. So do you see how when you add one additional unit of information, it multiplies the improbability of chance getting it? So for example, I'm sure you have online passwords, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if I were to try to guess your passwords, it would probably be very difficult because each alphanumeric character is greater than a 1 in 26 chance. And then when you have another alphanumeric character, that would be, let's say 1 in 26 times 1 in 26, right? So that's 1 in 26 squared. Each additional unit of information, letter in your password. So let's say you have a 10-letter password, right? Each unit of information has a improbability. You then have to multiply that times each additional unit of information
Yes,
10
I
times.
understand that. What I'm saying
Right.
is that if there's a
Do
little
you know
over
how long do you know how long the DNA code is in your body is? Do you know how many characters
yes,
are in there?
I
Okay,
do. What I'm saying is
there's
that as far as the entire universe and trillions of planets, right? That's like the lottery. Let's just say the lottery in the US, right, can be for 300 million people, right? Most of the time, maybe one person wins, maybe five people win at the same time. So you're talking about trillions and trillions and trillions of planets, and you're saying that we're the only people here in the entire universe.
well, the problem with an appeal to the lottery, it's a mistaken analogy because in a lottery, we have hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people playing the numbers. Okay? Now, the issue of probability is not the number of trials. Okay? It's the number of trials versus the number of possible outcomes. Okay? So you
Right, but you
see,
talked about a password. So
are,
like the Powerball has like six numbers,
mhm.
right? So
yeah, but you see, the reason why somebody wins is because there are millions of people playing that. So the
right, like
number
there's
of
trillions of
all right,
planets.
right, I know, but I'm trying to explain to you that even if I grant you that there are trillions of planets out there, I can even be generous and I can grant you that there's a trillion Earth-like planets, right? That's a very generous gift. There's nobody who
Right.
believes this in the scientific realm. Nobody believes there are trillions of Earth-like planets. Even if I granted to you a trillion squared Earth-like planets, a trillion times a trillion, that number of trials, okay, over 13.7 billion years would not be enough trials, right, to
Darth, but that's
overcome
not
the imp.
true. That's not
Can I,
true.
can I finish, please? Okay.
Yeah, but you've
If
been
I t-
talking this whole
okay,
time. That's not
all right,
true.
Amber, if I gave you a 100 amino acid chain that represents a single protein, right? That would be, and each amino acid is a 1 in 20 chance, followed by 1 in 20 up to 100. The odds of mutations producing just one coding sequence for one protein would be 1 in 10, all right, followed by 100 zeros. Okay.
Okay, but you
Now,
said that scientists
do
don't
you,
believe there's any Earth-like
eh,
planets, and that's just not true. They
okay,
just haven't
Amber,
discovered it yet.
right now, what we're talking about
Can you
is
can you
the
admit that? Can you admit that they just have not discovered? They've discovered semi or they've exoplanets. They have discovered exoplanets, right? But they have not discovered all the planets in the universe. So you
I'm
can't say
giving
that they
you,
don't believe
I'm
there's no
giving
Earth-like
you,
planets.
Amber, I'm giving you a trillion squared Earth-like planets. I'm acknowledging that. Nobody believes that, but I'm giving that to you in the discussion. I'm trying to explain to you that the improbability of mutations building the genome. Okay, how many units? Okay, in the human DNA code, we have far exceeding 2 to 3 billion base pairs within your DNA code. Right, that's just for the DNA code that's in the germ cells. Right, actually, it's double that amount when you have a complete person. But we can go with 2 to 3 billion. Right. So what you have within the human genome is 2 to 3 billion individual units of information that have to be in a correct linear sequence, just like a biological password. And that's not just for human beings. There are also other biological passwords that have to be in the correct linear sequence for every other discrete animal in the animal kingdom. Now, if I gave you a trillion squared Earth-like planets, that would be 10 followed by 24 zeros. If I then double that number to allow for 13.7 billion years, I could give you 10 to the power of 50 trials, right? Now, that's 10 followed by 50 zeros. Are you familiar with exponential numbers?
Um, no.
Okay, so 10 to the power of 2 is 100. Okay? So when you have an exponential number, right? When you have 10 to the power of, let's say, 3, that would be 1,000. right? So every additional zero multiplies the number by 10, okay? It grows
Okay.
exponentially, right? So the more zeros you have, the number grows, what we say it exponentially, it grows by such a magnitude, it's incomprehensible. Scientists only believe, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, that there are only about 10 to the power of 80 elementary particles in the universe, right? 10 to the power of 80. Now, when it comes to one single protein in your DNA to code for your proteins, it is a 1 in 10 followed by 100 zeros. So if I gave you 10 to the power of 50 trials, right, to get that coding sequence, it would still be, after those trials, a 1 in 10 followed by 50 zeros in probability. That's just for a protein. In a single cell, it requires numerous complex proteins as well as other complex sequencings that are each astronomically improbable. So when you look down at a molecular genetic level in terms of probability, there's no chance at all for mutations over a long period of time, even allowing for 1 trillion squared Earth-like planets to produce the coding sequences, even for a couple of proteins. And
But I
this is
disagree with
true.
that. I
Well,
disagree
okay,
with that.
then if I'm wrong, can you explain to me then by one of the world's greatest microbiologists and experts on microbiology and evolution wrote that let me ask you this
All I'm
question.
saying is
Do
if
you,
there's another
all right,
Earth-like planet, right? Their sun is like ours. They have water, they have oxygen, right? Who's to say that they don't have the same chemicals and elements that
no,
we do here on Earth?
I'm granting you that. That's not in dispute. I'm
Right.
willing to
So
grant
so
you,
why how could you
okay,
say that there's no
okay,
probability that there's no living animals anywhere else in the universe?
okay. Dr. Eugene Koonin is not a Christian. As far as I know, he doesn't believe in God. He is a world renowned expert on microbiology. He's written a whole book about it called The Logic of Chance. He goes through all of his reasonings about evolution at a molecular level. He says in the book himself that evolution happening in a single universe, right, just by mutations, is vanishingly small.
When
Okay.
was this
When
book
he,
published?
just a couple of years ago, called The Logic of Chance. By the way, he's not anti-evolution, he's pro-evolution. What he then says in the book, after recognizing that evolution happening by mutation in a single universe is what you believe, is vanishingly small. Saying that it is vanishingly small is to say that it is so astronomically remote that in probabilistic terms, it's not going to happen. But what he does
But
say in
that's
the
just a
book is
theory. It doesn't make it true. It's just a
all
theory. It's his
right.
theory.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect to you, and I don't want you to take it this way, but I think that this discussion in terms of the probability is going over what would take a much longer time to explain it to you. And
No,
I'd
I
like to
hear
go
what you're
back to the issue.
saying, Darth.
Even if evolution were true, it doesn't get you to there's no God. I have yet to hear from you an explanation as to how you determine that all the things that exist with independence from an eternal mind.
Well, I asked you
How
that
did you?
question and you said you would explain why there's a
Oh,
God.
okay.
You
All
said
right.
it
So,
was easy and then you haven't
right,
explained it yet.
right. But then you brought up evolution and we sidetracked. So I'll get back to that. Okay. So the tree outside your window is either indicative of the eternal or not. If it is not indicative of the eternal, whatever the eternal might be, then the tree doesn't mean anything. The tree is nothing. Okay. Do you agree with that?
No, it's a tree.
Okay. No. Okay. Does a tree possess actuality in and of itself, or is the tree actual because it's derivative?
I don't understand that.
Is the tree eternal?
Eternal, no.
Okay, so the tree possesses actuality because it began to exist, right?
Yes.
Okay, so therefore, the tree doesn't possess actuality and meaning in and of itself. The tree is what it is derivatively.
Yes,
Do you
for a
agree with that?
reason.
Okay,
Right.
so either the tree is what it is derivatively from whatever is eternal, or the tree is nothing.
That still
Okay.
doesn't make still doesn't make God real.
Okay, I'm not discussing God right now. I'm
No,
discussing
but that's
the.
what I asked you, Darth. You said
I'm
that you can
trying.
explain
I'm
why
trying to
God is
explain to
real.
you. I'm trying to explain to you something. All right. It's not something that I can give you in two sentences. So the tree, if the tree possesses actuality, it will either possess actuality and meaning, either derivatively or because the tree itself is eternal. And you and I don't believe the tree is eternal. So therefore, what the tree actually is derivative from something that is eternal. Okay? If you don't believe that something is eternal, then you are going to have to either believe that the tree ultimately comes from nothing, it just pops into existence from something else, or you're going to believe in an infinite regress. Do you believe
That's not
that?
true.
Okay, do you believe that the tree and everything else in our world is the product of an infinite regress?
No, I believe trees grow because we have the elements on earth for it to grow.
Right. And where did the elements come from? Are they eternal?
It because of the sun and water and our atmosphere
The
and
elements,
soil.
the elements on the periodic table, have they always existed or did they begin to exist?
I don't know.
Okay. So you believe the tree is because of I don't know.
I believe that I believe that elements make things what they are,
I
like
agree with you.
oxygen.
I
Yeah,
agree with you. But the point is this, are the elements eternal? Right?
I think elements have been here since, yes, since the earth has
Okay.
been here.
No. I'm talking even before that. Okay. Are the elements on the periodic table, have they always existed in your view, or did they begin to exist?
I don't know much about that, so I can't answer that.
Okay. Well, then you're not in a position then to say that things are not derived from God. Because then you're saying is the tree is what it is based upon I don't know, but you've ruled out God as
No,
its
I said
ultimate origin.
the tree is here for a reason, and I said that it grew because of water and oxygen.
Amber, your position is the tree is because of not God. That's your position.
Yes, it is.
How'd you determine that?
I just don't believe that there's a higher power. I feel like it's not
Right.
logical in my mind. It doesn't
Okay.
make sense.
How is it okay? What is the illogic in believing that what is fundamental is a mind? Is it
Because if
illogical to
someone is
believe?
creating something, who then created that? You would
Okay.
have to say that someone created God,
Right.
and God
What's your
is just
what's your no?
infinite in the world. I mean, in the universe, he's just up in the sky somewhere, looking down on us and
So
torturing
you
us.
you believe in an infinite regress then? If do you believe everything needs a cause? Everything?
Do I believe that
Is that
everything needs a cause?
yeah, is that logical to believe? Is it rational to believe that everything needs a cause?
Everything as in what?
That everything that exists, does everything that exists need a cause?
No, it just is.
Okay. Okay, well then the biblical position is that God himself is that which exists without cause and everything else derives from. Now, you can choose not to believe in that, but you're not going to be able to defend that denial. Okay? Your position isn't merely an absence of a positive belief, like you don't believe in the Loch Ness Monster. Your position is that God doesn't exist. Okay? Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, on what basis do you say God doesn't exist? Saying that God doesn't exist because you're unconvinced doesn't cut the mustard. It doesn't demonstrate that God doesn't
Why doesn't
exist.
it? The reason you believe God exists is because of your faith. There's no other reason.
Faith is a type of belief. I have a belief because I believe that the creation around us is necessarily indicative and revelatory of the eternal. And it could only be so if and only if the eternal was a mind that purposed that these things reveal
Right, but
it.
it's also a
Now,
belief. It doesn't make it true, Darth. That's all I'm
well,
saying.
I'm
I
trying
said
to,
initially,
good,
but
then
I
your
said
belief
initially
that
in this
God doesn't,
conversation that we could all be wrong. What I'm saying is that just because you have a belief doesn't make it true.
okay,
So are you doing an
I'm
internal
giving you,
critique?
I'm trying to show you that the belief in God, that God has revealed himself in creation, is without that adopting that rationale that I've given you, which I can go through it again because I'm not sure if you're understanding it. Without that, you won't have a basis to believe in anything. Okay? Now, unless we have God who is the beginning point and that he reveals himself through creation as the ground and basis as to why anything is, then you won't have any ultimate reference point. So you've already said in the conversation, you don't know if anything whatsoever is fundamental to everything else, right? That's your position?
Say that again, please.
You do not believe that God is fundamental to everything.
Yes.
So, but you also told me that you don't know or believe that anything is fundamental.
I'm still waiting for you to answer why do you think God exists?
I explained to you because it's the only alternative to provide for rationality. Unless the tree outside your window is indicative of the eternal, and it could only be indicative of the eternal if the eternal was a mind and purpose that it revealed it, then the tree wouldn't indicate anything, and therefore the tree wouldn't mean anything. You attempting to impose meaning from your mind doesn't make it true. Remember, you told me believing something doesn't make it true?
Yes, but you're saying because the
Do you
tree,
believe? Do
no,
you
you're
believe
saying
the
because the
tree,
tree is there. You're saying because the tree
Amber?
is there that God made the
Amber, do
tree.
you do you believe the
And I
tree
said that the
outside your?
tree is there because of the elements that are on earth.
Okay, okay. Are the elements themselves fundamental to explain everything?
You have water, oxygen, soil, you have a tree.
Okay, Amber, I'm not trying to be rude, but I don't think you're understanding this, right?
No, I'm
Either
understanding.
either you believe.
I'm following
No,
what
you're
you're
not.
saying. No, I
No,
am, but I just
no.
disagree. That's
I know you're not understanding. Do you believe the tree has meaning and intelligibility?
yes, but that doesn't mean that God made it.
Okay. Does it have intelligibility simply because you believe it?
Does God exist because you believe it?
Uh, God exists because he's taking the initiative to reveal himself, and he's revealed himself in creation in a way that is undeniable and irrefutable. That's what I'm trying to present to you here. That your scenario of the not God world is indefensible. And I'm trying to explain to you either the tree possesses intelligibility or not. I'm going to walk you through a series of questions, okay? They're not trick questions, but they're sequential
Darth,
to get to
listen to what I'm
does the
saying.
tree
No,
does the
you
tree
keep talking.
okay,
You're
I
not
you're
letting me talk. That's unfair. I
no,
let you talk a
you're not
lot.
I've let you talk more than most people. Every time I try
Right,
to
but
ask a series of questions,
people
Yeah.
don't want to
you're
debate
I
with
could
rabbit.
you, Darth,
yeah.
Yeah,
because you
okay,
don't
is
let
this
us
what you're gonna
talk.
do now? Are you gonna do just
All right.
now you're
Well,
gonna bicker?
I could try and simplify
You're
things real quick
you're
though.
rabbit
So
trailing. What I want to know from you is, does the tree possess intelligibility apart from God?
Obviously, we can't have a conversation, Darth, and now I understand why people told me not to talk to you. because
No, no. What you're
if you
doing
want to
is
sway
you're
people into
bickering.
Christianity, right? You have
You're
to have a
bickering,
conversation. You
Amber.
have to
You're
have a
doing. You're
conversation, Darth.
Amber. You're
I'm gonna
doing
go to the
what
other
most
room. Have a wonderful
have
day, guys.
have a
Goodbye.
have a nice day. Okay. Yeah. What she's doing is when you try to walk her through something, and they see the writing on the wall of where it ends up, then they start to bicker and to rabbit trail. You see, this is a little game that they play, right? And she's no different. It's just bicker, 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 rabbit trail, rabbit trail, rabbit trail. Okay? It's a game of obstructionism. Okay? That's where we got nowhere with her. She wants to say that God doesn't exist, but she didn't give a defense at all how God doesn't exist. It's just one atheist cliche after another. All right, come on up, C. All right, if anyone else wants to come up and discuss the defense of atheism, you're welcome. Go ahead, C.
How you guys doing, man? I appreciate you bringing me up.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I really enjoyed the conversation. I really did. I'm not an atheist myself. I do believe in God,
Okay.
but I love to hear other perspective too.
Look, I bent it over backwards being patient with her, because she has some kind of so-called celebrity status. But
Celebrity,
she's
she
totally
was.
she
Whew, that was a great game, Darth. Good.
she
I'm on your
she's
side, the
worse.
theist.
I understand. She in terms of her reasoning, she was worse than 15-year-old atheists on Clubhouse and on Discord. Right? Once when I tried to walk her through step by step, okay, sequentially, she just rabbit trails. She bickers. She's intellectually ill equipped to carry on these conversations. And I'm not saying she's not a smart individual, but in terms of her defense of atheism, it's not even at a 15 or a 16-year-old level, right? And so when people who are ill equipped to debate a topic that they're holding to, one of the tactics that they resort to is bickering and rabbit trailing. And that's what she did. And that's why it gets nowhere. And she wants to pull this game. Now I understand why people don't want to talk to you. So, now it's throw me under the bus tactic here, right? I was bending over backwards being cordial and patient with her. And then she wants to throw me under the bus. She's just covering her rear end for her own incompetence and her own failure to defend atheism in an intelligent and logical fashion. All right, come on up, Apollo.
Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off that, I feel like most atheists,
Hello.
they look at it from like they're saying that they look at it from a logical perspective, and almost imply as if people who are believers don't look at it from a logical perspective. But you can just look at
What she's doing, what she was doing was
sorry.
purposely not focusing and not being cooperative in terms of my line of reasoning. I didn't say she has to accept everything, but I was going through a sequence of ideas that would ultimately culminate in the existence of God. And so people like her, people who are absolute amateurs at defending atheism, one of the tactics that they employ, as I've mentioned before, and they do so successfully, is to bicker, is to simply to rabbit trail. And that's what she did. She didn't in any way competently defend atheism at all, right? And I would have dealt even more stringently with her if she didn't have some type of reputation or some type of celebrity status. But I wanted to bend over backwards, being patient with her, especially because she was ill-equipped. But you see, you can't stop people from being belligerent and bickering in a conversation, and that's what she did. I can't wave a magic wand and get her not to bicker. But if somebody has
Now's
some
the
type of
time. Hey, Darth. Oh, can I talk, please? Or do you want to go in another? Dude, I just want to talk, please. I have 2 minutes. I have to go. Okay? Darth. So you did good job. You did a very good job. I agree. As theists are concerned. But actually, I mean, I have to say, Amber Rose, Apollo. Amber Rose is a very famous person. She has 60,000 followers here, okay? She has used to be with
Damn.
Kanye West. You know Kanye West?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was Amber was one of the first girlfriends of Kanye. So she's kind of older. So, you know, she's got kids and stuff, but she's still kind of smart. And, you know, Darth, bro,
Okay,
like you're making the atheists
what were
rise.
you?
They're
Listen, what
rising.
were you?
Atheists are rising,
Hey,
bro.
Abe, Abe,
Yeah,
I'm
Darth,
gonna
you didn't do a good job. You
interrupt
didn't
you.
close her. You didn't close her, bro.
Uh,
Why didn't you close her, Darth?
So someone
All right,
Abby didn't say like a
all right.
debate would be too
She's
me.
not. No, no. She was. Not, she did not display smartness at all. Okay. Her level of a defense of atheism was that at an adolescent level. That's how bad it was. Okay. And I've had more intelligent conversations with some adolescent atheists than she is. She look when people lack the intellectual resources to defend their position, what they typically do is resort to being argumentative, rabbit trailing, and just bickering, which is what she did. And then, in order to save face and to run away, then she wants to throw me under the bus and say, "Oh, now I know why people told me not to talk with you." Yeah, well, they told you not to talk with me because you're going to get destroyed. Anyway, getting back to Amber Rose, for those who are listening,
Mm-hmm.
I would have been more stringent with her as I am other people, but I kind of felt bad for her because she really was not intellectually equipped to defend it. She had a child's mentality when it comes to defending atheism, and it was sad, right? She didn't know what she was talking about when it comes to evolution. She didn't know what she was talking about when it comes to statistics or probability. Just because somebody's a celebrity does not mean that they are intellectually equipped. I bent over backwards being meticulously patient with her, right? Even when she would bicker and rabbit trail, okay, and try to
Mm-hmm.
segue. This is typically what noob atheists do. And there's nothing you can do to stop it unless you're more stringent as a moderator. But had I been more stringent as a moderator, then people would have accused me of running roughshod over her. She it's one of the worst defenses of atheism I've ever heard.
And I like the way you was talking nice to her. You didn't override her, and that was good. And but
Yeah,
yes,
and then she accused me because she was imploding and being bickering. That was her defense. She wasn't even attempting to follow me. Every time I tried to go through a chain of reasoning, she would be disruptive and try to rabbit trail it. Okay, so she was the one who was behaving badly, and then she has the nerve, the gall, to say that I somehow mistreated her. Well, she's a little liar, okay? And I really don't care. I really could care less that she has celebrity status.
that's
Come on
okay.
back up, Apollo.
That's okay. Let me tell you this: God is convicting her right now. That's what's
Yep.
wrong with her. God is convicting. He is
Yeah.
convicting the world.
How
Now,
do you
He's
reason with
convicting the
somebody?
church, but He's
Yeah. How
convicting
do
her.
you reason with somebody who
Well,
is committed to? Let me just finish. How do you reason with somebody like that, who is bound and determined to bicker with you rather than to reason and debate with you? That's all she did. She bickered like a little 14-year-old little girl. Did you catch that, Tom Rabbit? Hope you upload that to YouTube.